science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success. What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions? How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots, let them roam around about you and share a life with them? How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Cockatude is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatude 50, Adoption, Thoughts on How and Why. And we've got a big crew with us today. We have Babaloo, and Peaches, Coco, Snowball, Chloe, who's in the box over there. She'll probably come fly over here later though. Salamander, and Sugarbird. Cecil, what are you doing behind my head? That's a beautiful song, Peaches. That's a beautiful song. Very beautiful song. Well, there's a ton of birds in captivity, and the parrots that have been bred and raised in the United States, these hand-raised birds, so many of them are suffering. They're left in their cages all day long. People don't think about them at all. I even heard one plumber friend of mine was telling me that he was doing work for someone and there was a parrot in a closet. And when he asked about that, they said, well, it's loud and we can't find a place to put it. No one will take it. So they kept a parrot in a closet. And of course there's no laws to protect them, so no one's going to come and take the parrot away from them if they have it in the closet. That sounds strange, but that's true. And even though they're tame, they're not domesticated in any way, shape, or form. Parrots are wild animals. They still have all the wild nature. They're not like us because they're avians, descended from, and actually still are, dinosaurs, and we're mammals. There's a ton of differences between them and us. And in order to understand them, we really have to do a lot of study. We humans have a tendency, well documented, to shape the world to match ourselves. It's like we want the world to be a certain way, so we frame it that way. If you can imagine possibly trying to bring a lion or a tiger into your home and not studying about them and not learning about them, I think you'd be motivated if you had a lion or tiger you were moving into the house and you had to do that. You didn't have a choice. you would certainly learn. Otherwise, you'd probably be dinner. So with these guys, because you see them in cages, and that's the way you see. Most people are used to seeing pictures of birds in cages, so you think it's normal. Well, it's not normal for them. What's normal is flying in the sky. And so there is a philosophy which is just dead wrong. Is the idea that the best birds you can get are hand raised. And as Dr. Jenkins said in our video, the problem with feather picking actually began when we stopped importing birds and started raising them in captivity. That's a beautiful song. And in the Basaba Manual for Citizen Birds, the only veterinary manual that deals only with parrots, it lists a huge number of behavioral problems with these guys. There's a ton of them. I was trying to look it up, but I read it a long time ago and I couldn't find the passage. Otherwise, I'll find it and I'll put it in the show notes. But it lists all these problems. And then at the very end it says, none of these problems are from the bird. They're all from how these guys are dealt with in captivity. So, a lot of people think, because this is the going idea, it's like they used to say ages ago, this isn't PC, but they used to say an old wives' tale. Hi, sweetheart. You're doing pretty well on the camera. She noticed she hasn't really screamed until now, and she hates the camera. Bob, don't play again. Don't drop something over there just so you can get to the camera, okay? It's also promulgated by the breeders and the pet stores. They say, oh, hand-raised is the best. But actually, when they started hand-raising, is when we started having a lot of that's when we started having a lot of behavioral problems, stereotypic behavior, feather picking, aggression, a lot of other problems all really revolve around this hand raising. Because what you're doing when you go to adopt come here, you're going to start that. When you go to adopt a bird, no, calm down, it's okay. Hi, baby, just calm down.
If you are enjoying our videos, we hope that you can find it in your heart to support our work. It costs between $25,000 to $30,000 a year to care for our flock of heartbroken and abused birds. Most of our birds came with feather destructive disorder. Even a basic exam with blood work costs $300. Medical emergencies cost us thousands a year. We are a non-profit, and donations are tax-deductible to the full extent of the law. We need your support. Birds deserve a happy and healthy life. Become our patron at www.patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary to support us on a per-video basis, or donate at our webpage today.
They're just cameras. They're not going to bite you, okay? They're not going to... He won't hurt you. He's your protector. He won't hurt you. But, so you'll hear from the pet stores. They'll tell you, and the breeders, they'll tell you that the best kind of bird, the birds that bond to you best, are the ones that have been hand-raised. Well, hand-raising, if you parallel it, okay, and we're talking about why you would want to adopt a bird rather than buy one from a bird store, okay. Hand-raising basically involves this process. And now imagine what you're going to talk about it like it was done to humans, okay? The mother gets pregnant. So they immediately rush the mother down to the hospital. They take the baby, a tiny little baby, just a few cells, they take it out, and they grow this thing in a test tube for a while, then they put it in an incubator. And then when it's finally old enough, they give it to a chimpanzee. Now the chimpanzee doesn't know how to feed the humans, but it's learned that if you stick a tube down their throat, you can have a whole bunch of these little babies, and you can feed a whole bunch by just sticking that tube down their throat and shoving food in them. It's like fill up, fill up, fill up, fill up, and ka-ching! Okay, I say ka-ching because now we're going away from the analogy, and we're going into that's how the breeders make money. Because these guys lay 2 eggs in a year. Most parrots, they have a clutch of 2. If something happens to an egg, they'll do another one. So what the breeders do is they take them away, and they take them away, and they take them away, and then the money just rolls in. Boy, they make a lot of money that way. And then, if they've got a bunch of babies, hi Peaches. What's the matter, sweetheart? You look like you're having a problem. What's going on? What's going on? He's not going to hurt you. Oh, he's got a toy. Okay, I get you. Cecil with a toy. That's kind of scary. I know. It's a little scary. It's scary for all of us, though, not just for you, okay? Even though I'm going to let him get you. Just calm down, sweetheart. She's going to go off again. Look at that. It's like a little bomb ready to explode down there. I'm going to sing again. I'm going to sing. Go ahead. If you're going to sing, sing. Good girl. That was a good song. A good song. Once that happens, once the baby's been taken away and put in an incubator and hand fed by humans, I don't want you up there because you're screaming in my ear, sweetheart. Go ahead, climb up the hay and watch it, big boy. Hey, you're stepping on Cecil. He's not too fond of that. They'll try to sell to a private individual because they make more money that way. If they have to sell to a bird store, they're going to make less money. Okay? The other thing is, especially in California where the law is that you can't sell an unweaned bird, what they'll do in California is they can sell an unweaned bird to an individual, but they can't sell an unweaned bird to a bird store. So they want to get the public to buy directly from them because they can make more money and they can get them out the door faster so they can make even more money. But so most of these birds are not weaned properly. They're supposed to wean themselves. They'll tell you that they're weaned at 6 months. Salamander, no. I'm going to bring you over here. Hold on, I got to get Sal. Sit over here for a second. I got to get it. Come here. You want to move so I don't sit on you? Okay, that's a good one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. You start this every time now, and I have to bring you over. I do. Because if I don't bring you over, what happens is you just keep screaming the whole time. If you want attention, you're welcome to it. Come over anytime. It's just like that movie. All are welcome. All are welcome. Go into the light, Carol Ann. Oh, I didn't say that. Anyway. Then after they're handed off to somebody, they'll usually tell you this bird's always going to be like this, and if the bird is not adolescent, okay, if it hasn't reached maturity yet, their sexual maturity comes before their full adulthood, but like an umbrella around 3.5 years old, 4, same for a Moluccan, about that. That's when they become sexually adult, but emotionally adult around 5 or 6. That's when most rescues get birds. They got out. Somebody buys a bird from a bird store. It's like, oh, it's always going to be this way, and then it starts exhibiting territoriality because you don't know how to handle it. You're petting them improperly. You'll see me do that, by the way. You only pet them on the head. I have my reasons for petting them differently. I am certified in bird behavior, so applied behavior analysis. So I have some of these birds that are mated to me. You will see me pet them in places that you should not. You should pet them on the head. Now, if you take some classes, you're not going to eat the buttons off this. If you should take some classes and learn reward training, even better, learn applied behavior analysis, and you can deal with things a little differently. You can pet them differently at certain times. As long as you know exactly what you're doing and you know what particular behaviors you're eliciting, then you can do that, okay? But You don't want to do that as an unknowing, well, my bird, this is one I hear all the time too. Well, my bird loves it when I pet him under the wings. And it's like, yeah, it's almost like pedophilia. You know, just think, pet them on the head. Now, Bob is mated to me. You'll see me touch his back a lot. It doesn't really affect him. It doesn't get him all hyped up. Because you know how it is once you've been married for a while. Do you think that's funny, Bob? That's about the way it works, too.
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. Extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild, special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
So they'll tell you that they're always going to be like this. Oh yes, umbrellas are always cuddly. Yeah, that's true. But if you get one mated to you, it will defend you, and that could mean it'll bite you hard if it sees that problem and it's warning you. When it bites its mate, okay, if Snowball were to bite its mate, it would be biting feathers. So it'd be warning its mate, there's danger here. Don't eat the button. Warning its mate, there's danger here by biting the feathers. When it bites you, you've got skin, it hurts, okay? It's the way it works. So you want to adopt, now we're talking about the negatives about buying from a pet store, not to mention or a breeder. The breeder I got Lorelei from, who wouldn't come in here today, finally admitted to me that she'd never taken one of her birds to the vet. All of her birds, she said, were underweight. You know, their weights were in the 400s. She said, my birds are just small. Well, Lorelei, on proper food and exercise, she weighs as much as he does. She weighs around 650 grams, which is what Snowball runs, okay? Her birds, she said they're all in the 400s, like 450, 420, somewhere in that range. So, the quality of what you get from the breeder is really questionable anyway, and they're stressing those birds out and making them produce so many eggs. Now, the last thing on that was there was research done in Northern California. I can't remember the name of the university, but I'll look it up. And they experimented, and they had a control group that was raised like they normally are in this country, you know, with the incubator and all that, never seeing their parents. And they also had a group that was in an aviary that wasn't touched by humans, you know, raised by their parents. And then they had groups that were actually in an aviary, raised by their parents, but handled 20 minutes a day. And guess what? The ones that were handled 20 minutes a day, raised in an aviary by their parents, didn't feather pick, they didn't have any of these other psychological problems. So if you can, there aren't many, but there are a few breeders, if you really want a bird like that do breed, let their parents raise them, that's where to go. Don't go to one of these other people. Now, the best thing to do, of course, because we really need this, there's so many birds out there. If you've seen Parrot Confidential, It tells the story better than I can, but there's so many birds that need help, and these guys that were selling them, they're coming back. I just had somebody tell me, by the way, that they had overheard at the bird store local around here, that this one couple brought their bird back. They couldn't handle it, and the bird store was kind enough to take it back. Of course, they didn't give them their money back, and they're going to sell it again. They probably told them this bird's always going to be sweet, because it's the same bird store I was talking about before. Okay? So they probably said, oh, these birds will always be sweet. Bird goes through sexual maturation. The next thing you know, after a short time with that, they don't want the bird there anymore. They don't realize they made the mistakes because they didn't know. They were ignorant. Nobody's told them they need to learn. So, you're not going to get the button off this. You're not going to do it, so quit trying. Very good, very sneaky, come to the side kind of thing. Yeah, you're very sneaky. Bob, don't eat the door. Don't eat the door. No, you don't need to eat the door. Thank you. Bob? Silly boy. You're a good bird, but you're silly. So, now what's the advantages? I'm sure I'll think of something else, but what advantages do you have for getting a bird from a rescue? And I'll tell you, every bird you get, whether not going to eat the button. Every bird that you get, wherever you get it from, is going to have problems. They're going to develop issues because these are hand-raised birds, so they're just a ticking time bomb. Somewhere along the line, something's going to trigger a behavior you don't want. So, if you go to a rescue, and the rescue is good about noting down the behaviors of the bird, they can tell you this bird has a biting issue, this bird has a screaming issue. If you don't know what screaming is, that's just squawking every second or 2 seconds for up to hours at an end. I think it's a broken flock call. Somewhere along the line, they weren't responded to when they needed to be. These guys are in the wild together. And they're used to being around, it's kind of in their DNA profile that they're used to being around others. And when they call for you, they expect a response. If a bird doesn't respond, it's probably dead. So a rescue will be able to give you a profile of the bird. Now, if you're getting one from a private individual, don't believe what they say. In most cases, they're going to tell you stories that either they didn't see it right and they got it wrong, or that they're not telling you the whole story because they want the bird out of their house. It's hard to place a bird. It's like the old Twilight Zone where you pay $1 for the love potion, but $10,000 for the shoe polish. The shoe polish that will get rid of the one that loves you now. So they're not going to tell you the truth. We get it all the time. And when we have an opening and people are talking to us, there's a number of issues that come right up. They don't realize that we only take in the worst of the worst. We're working right now with bringing in a bird for this month who's gone through the medical, and we'll talk about that too. Okay, who's preparing to come here. Okay, she has actually swallowed a piece of lead and had to have it surgically removed, so she has brain damage. Documented brain damage. I've spoken to the vet. And she has advanced feather destructive behavior bordering on mutilation. Okay, looks like it's not going to be too long before that would happen. So, but when you're talking to someone who, this bird is really sweet, it doesn't like men. Okay, that's totally not the case. When somebody says a bird doesn't like men or doesn't like women, that's something that's... Somebody will say it to me, that bird does not like men, and I'll have the bird and it will get right up on me and like me from the beginning. It's not a question of liking men or women, but it's the way you act and the kind of way you dress. Men and women dress differently, they look different. So the birds know that, they see those signals. But it doesn't take long at all, especially if you have a little reward training to dump that. They don't really have a preference for one or the other. Never seen a bird that so-called preference could be destroyed, but it couldn't be overcome in just a snap of the fingers, really. They won't tell you about specific issues like, likes to get down off the couch and eat the molding on the walls. Ate through the kitchen door one time. We left it out. They won't mention little things like that. Won't mention that, like, if there's a storm, the bird likes to, will bite you if it hears lightning. The bird will bite you if it hears lightning. There's a whole bunch of little issues they won't talk about. It's really picky about the food it eats. If you don't give it the food it wants, it'll go for a long time without eating, and then it becomes aggressive out of starvation, of course. So, but they're not going to tell you the full story. But if you go to a rescue and they've had the bird for a month or two, then they know a lot of the bird's quirks. They've taken the bird out, they've handled it, they've examined it physically. It's been to see the vet. A good rescue, of course, it would be to see the vet. And they've checked in all the boxes on behavior, so they know what the issues are at the moment. Issues change under different circumstances. You act differently if you're on the shore in Acapulco at the beach than you do if you're at work. And it's the same with these guys. Different situations, different behavior. Put them in a 40-foot aviary. This one, if you'd done that when I first got her, Coco, and put her in an aviary, she would have hidden in the back and stayed away from everybody. Now she'd try to go around and tell everybody this is my territory, and she'd establish a little territory. Wouldn't you? Yes, because you can be very territorial, can't you? Yep. You guys are awfully buddy-buddy, you know that? So, if you go to a rescue, they're going to tell you the issues, and yes, they're going to charge you a fee, but I'm telling you right now, they're losing money on every transaction. If they charge you $400 or $500 to take a bird out the door, they had to pay tons of money to have it checked out at the veterinarian. If you do the blood tests and all the things that you should do, it's around $300. So they've got that base covered. But even though they do, you still need to double check the records, see what the vet said. If you can, talk to their vet. If you have to pay for a consultation, find out what the vet has to say about the bird. Check out the vet. Go online, see what you can find out about the vet. Are they avian certified? If they'd worked in a zoo collection, and they had a certification to do that, then that would be acceptable. But primarily, you're looking at avian vets, certified avian vets, and they've got to recertify regularly. So they have to keep up on what's going on. And if you ever talk to a good one, and they're going to give you and you ask the right questions, they're going to tell you more than you want to know. Well, it's never more than I want to know. And I listen, and then I research what they say. I just had a vet tell me that he doesn't even believe in quarantine. And when he explained his reasons for it, it made sense. He said that once you've run the tests you can run, like there's no test for PDD that's accepted in the United States by the FDA. They're doing it in Europe, but they're not doing it here yet. So we don't know if they have PDD or not. It's a deadly disease. It's really, He said that having them in quarantine for 45 or 90 days isn't going to show you they have PDD. And if you've done the polyoma and the psittacosis and the beak and feather, not all birds have to do the beak and feather, but cockatoos and lovebirds and cockatiels, you've got to test for that. And there's a few others. But make sure that those tests are done and that they show negative. You certainly don't want a bird that has beak and feather. It may be a carrier, maybe never show it, but if it's around another bird, it could pass it on. So that's not something you want. So get the medical done, but check with their vet, and then make sure that the next step, if you're going to adopt a bird, is to then, after you get the information, get all the information from the other vet, especially if you're not going to be using the same one, obviously. So if you're not going to be using the same vet, get all that information and all the records and get copies and take it to your new vet. And use an avian vet. make sure the vet you use is qualified. And you can tell a lot by the way they talk, okay? Check their records, make sure that they do have an avian certification. Talk to them. Bring the bird in for an exam. You've already had some of the other work done. Still have your vet do the exam. Usually a basic exam is $60 or under, somewhere like that. Just a physical where they don't take blood. Okay? So make sure the blood tests have been done, that those are normal. If you can, just pay for the x-rays to make sure that there's nothing else wrong with the bird. For example, with Peaches, if somebody had done that, they would have seen a 6th fused vertebrae in her neck, and it would have made dealing with her a lot easier, because everyone thought she was picky because she ate out of these tiny little bowls. And the reason she did that is because it hurts to lift her neck, okay? And with Salamander, the reason he doesn't fly is because he has a twisted pelvis. Where we were told that he had a spinal problem, he doesn't. He has a problem with his pelvis. So it's a good idea to get x-rays done. You can also see if there's like enlarged organs, or that'll show you fatty liver disease. But you can also find that from the blood work. So get all those bases covered. Now, as I said, this one vet was telling me, he says, I don't believe in quarantine because it's not going to, you've got the tests for what's there. The other things aren't going to show up in 45 or 90 days. So what's the quarantine for? You've got a point. It's not like the disease is just going to suddenly appear. These diseases are usually quite notable. So you've got the veterinary record. Now, another thing too, you're looking at a bird, and I'm not going in any sequence here, I'm just covering the bases. Just trying to make sure I cover everything. When you go to pick out a bird, don't think, well, I use silly voices, I know it. I really want a bird I just love the color gray. That's no reason to get yourself an African gray, okay? Look at the species and what it does. You want a cuddly bird that's going to sit on your chest while you watch a movie. That's not going to be an African gray. I'm not saying it isn't possible. Sometimes you'll get one that's like that. But generally, parrots, old world parrots, like an African gray or a macaw, you have to teach them to step up. And they seem focused on the world around them. With a cockatoo, you teach it to play toys because you can't get them off of you. Right, Coco? Can't get them off of you. I don't know where I get that idea. Now, if I had a parrot in here, and we do work with parrots, we had one come to us recently, unfortunately. She died of old age. But we do work with parrots too, not just these kinds, the cockatoo type of parrot. We work with old world parrots. But do it more for their behavior. What in the world have you got? Oh, okay. He takes toys apart and then I can't figure out what he's got. Don't you, Cecil? So look at them more for their behavior and don't think about what they look like. Don't go, oh, I just love those scarlet macaws. They're so beautiful. Yes, they are. And they're wonderful birds. But they're not going to sit on your shoulder and watch a movie with you. That's not the kind of behavior you're going to get. You need to study the species. They're a little on the macaw side. They're a little bit more on the hyperactive. They've got a bad rap for being mean birds. They aren't. There aren't any mean birds. They're just a little bit more... what are you doing over there, big boy? What are you doing, Snowball? Snowball. Snowball. What's up? Oh, you want the table so you can walk over? Well, it was kind of in my way as far as arranging the the room. Sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Well, I'll lift you over there if you want. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want, big boy? Snowball. So, one of the most important things is to look at the kind of behavior you want from your bird. Someone recently said to me, well, I never thought I would want a white bird. And my thought was, what does the color have to do with anything? It's the personality. that you're, and the behavior that you should be focused on. If you're focused on what they look like, you're probably not going to get what you want. For example, with a scarlet, if you don't give them enough attention, I knew we needed to go over there. If you don't give them enough attention, then they're going to start to get a little aggressive. And then on top of that, if you give them too much inappropriate attention, then that aggression is not going to be something you want to deal with. Because they're quick and they're powerful. And if you're not doing something right, it's like having Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was, from the movie The Terminator, okay? Pissing off someone like that. So it's not the way they look, it's the behaviors you want to focus on. So don't trust a bird store about behavior. A lot of rescues will be knowledgeable. They'll have the birds there. They'll have knowledge about how they are, and you still should do research on your own. The best two resources for behavior: the Manual of Parrot Behavior by literature. You can't do it. You're going to know by that book. You're going to know enough to be able to work with any species, but it describes all of them, their behaviors, and you also should have the Basava manual for citizen birds, because with that it does talk behavior in there too, but it also has the medical side, because you've got to know how to deal with issues. If you don't know how to pull a blood feather, you shouldn't have one of these guys. And if they break one, they can bleed to death. And you have to pull it. You can't wait and go, I'll take them to the vet. They'll be dead before you get them there. So you have to know how to pull them, because it's kind of like, it's like turning the tap on the outside of your house to water the lawn. That's the way it comes out, bro. And they don't have much blood. They are minimal on everything except lifespan. They live a long time. They have very little blood. They have hollow bones. They're different than us. So again, focus on personality. Then, when you see a bird you think you like, the personality fits, okay, the behavior of the species fits, then what you want to do is, this bird seems, you like this bird, get the bird out and see if it shows any interest in you. Don't take a bird that doesn't show any interest in you. Then if it does seem to be interested, come back 2 more times. See the bird 2 more times and see if it still shows you interest. And I don't mean it just looks at you, but it wants to be with you. Well, you can tell someone's showing interest in me. You want to see that kind of interest. Not necessarily slamming you in the face with a toy, but you want to have a bird that shows interest in you, okay? Cecil definitely shows an interest in me, don't you? Bob shows, you can see how Coco shows an interest in me, and Bob does. And Peaches, who's hiding behind me. Snowball, don't you start a fight. Snowball. Snowball. No fighting. Snowball, what are you doing? Is that lack of coordination or what? I know you're coordinated, so you're... That is the oddest thing I've seen. What are you doing? Oh, playing? Oh, you got your toe stuck. Are you okay? I've not seen that happen before. I better put a bigger perch on those things so that won't happen. You learn little things. You get a new purchase and you find out they can get their toenails stuck on them. Again, a side note, you see what looks like a weird behavior, that might actually be a physical problem. How are you doing? You doing okay now? You be nice to him. You be nice to him. So, you want to find a bird that has the behavior that you would like to live with. Then you want to find that, you're talking about the species. Then you look for an individual that shows interest in you and shows that interest after you come back for the next 2 times. And then you got to make sure your house is proofed, okay? If you have any cords where that bird's going to be, that they're covered with metal shielding, the stuff they use for appliance cords, that kind of thing. Hey. Let's not get aggressive. Like that. And I've covered a lot of different ones, but mainly you want to make sure the house is safe for them. Hey. You. Salamander, you can sit up there if he's not bothering you. Oh, he's bothering you. Snowball. Hey. Salamander, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Hey. Snowball. No aggressive look. Hey. No. Make sure that bird gets along with other birds. This is a good example. Make sure there's no aggression with other birds. The rescue should know that because they have a lot of birds there. They should know that. Hey! Oh, Snowball. Hello, boy. Snowball. Now I took him down because he was the second one up there. Salamander was already sitting there, so I took him down. That's why I chose him. Besides, he could use a little petting, couldn't you? And notice I did pet him down his back. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. That's the old saying. Okay? I know that right now it's comforting him, and it's not making him sexually active. It's just comforting him a little bit. Then I move up to just petting his head. Right, Snowball? Right, Snowball? So then, if you've got a bird that's a little bit, if you have a bird that you're going to take in, and you're taking in one that's a little bit afraid, phobic, we use the word afraid, but it's phobic. If something moves too quickly, it jerks away, that kind of thing, then you're going to want to put them in a corner of the room, in a room that's fairly quiet. Okay? Especially if it's an old world parrot. If it's a cockatoo, they don't do too well where they're completely out of the way. So you might want to put them in a normal traffic area where people are walking around, or even with a television on, where you sit, like a den or a living room. But plan it according to the bird's behavior and its species. These guys generally don't like to be alone. There are a few exceptions, like Roman. He's a good exception. He doesn't like to be around other birds. But for the most part, by species, the bird's particular personality, you have a master plan. Who's going to deal with the bird? Okay. Is there anyone in your home that you're not going to let deal with the bird? Who's going to be the primary one that gives treats? What are you going to do if the bird starts showing interest in one person over the other? You should nip that in the bud. The second you see it, the person who's getting the bird starting to show more attention to should stop giving that bird treats, and the other person or persons who are involved should focus on it. Catch it before it goes too far. Well, it never goes too far. You can always swing it back, but it's harder. Once you push it where the bird gets too bonded to one individual, then it's really hard to get the other people in there. It can be done. I'm not saying it can't, but just catch it early on. Make your plans. What are you going to do if the bird starts showing interest to more than one another? Shows interest to one individual over others. How are you going to instruct people how they can pet the bird? How they're going to talk to the bird? You know, how they approach it? When and if they can take it out of the cage? Get all those contingencies down. How you're going to deal with this. Come here, sweetheart. We don't need you screaming because the cameras. You're looking at the cameras again. I know. And you're looking at Chloe too, aren't you? I know, but it's okay. It's okay. So, have a plan for these situations. These are intelligent animals. You need to have a plan. A dog, what do you have to do? what if the dog, if you have a dog, and when I talk about dogs, I always try to do that, because they're not anywhere as intelligent as these guys. If you leave a dog, the average dog, and there aren't many that are trained to stay away from human food, if you leave them in the kitchen with food on the table for a while and you come back, there's a good chance some of that food's going to be gone. Or on the floor, or because that's the way dogs are. If you leave a bird alone in a room, there's a good chance that the molding on the doors is going to be gone. Or if you have wooden furniture, that there is going to be new sculptures in your wood, in your furniture. So plan these things out. It's also not a good idea to have just a side room with a bird in it. Okay, we're going to have this bird and we're going to put it in this room. You definitely wouldn't do that with a cockatoo. But we humans have a tendency to forget things that are not in our face, so you want to have them where you can see them. If you have an African gray, the living room is fine, but maybe they don't want to be in the center of all the attention, but they want to be a little bit to the back. What's going on? You watch what you're doing here. Don't start doing that with your tail. No, you're not going to mate anybody. No, you're not. You're not. You're very cute, though. You're not going to mate with anybody. Okay? And you're not going to try to mate with her. So it's really important to have a plan. And since you're getting a rescue bird, you're going to know something about it. Don't count on all of the behaviors being the same as they said at the rescue, because the situation is different. But at least you have an idea. If you're getting something from a breeder, you have no idea what behaviors they're going to develop as they get older. You don't. Where a bird that's at a rescue, if you've got a bird that's 20 years old, another cockatoo's got another 62 years on them. It's not like it's not like you're getting an animal that's going to be dead in a few years. You get a dog that's 8 or 9 years old, its life's nearly over. But when you start talking about these, you got a bird that's 8 or 9 years old, it's like an 8 or 9 year old child, except it's also sexually mature. They're going to live as long or longer than you. So an older bird that has certain behaviors, you can learn how to deal with them. So get the skills. A good book is Don't Shoot the Dog. That'll give you some of the basics of reward training that you're going to have to use. Paul Chance's Learning and Behavior. If you can read a college text and it doesn't drive you crazy, that's the standard for this kind of behavior training. But know what you're going to do. What are you going to do if you get bit? Okay, think about it. I've got this bird. Bird has a tendency to bite. What am I going to do if I get bit? Plan out the individual circumstance, what I'm going to do if I get bit. Okay, well, let's see. Bites me on a bite on the finger, and it's bleeding. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it. If I get bit and it doesn't bleed, what am I going to do? Define each situation, how you're going to handle it before it happens, because if you try to handle it at the moment, for example, salamander. He doesn't like headsets. So if you put on anything over your ears, that's big over your ears, he's going to go kind of wacko. And what he'll do is he'll bite you. Well, I wasn't thinking one day, I had a headset on, and I came over, I'd been in the kitchen working. So I came in to deal with him about something, give him an apple or something, a piece of apple. And I opened the cage door, and he lunged, and he bit me right on the artery on this arm. Okay, got me right there. So I'm bleeding all over the place. So my plan, so I always have a plan for this. I got him back in his cage without getting blood on him. That's the number one thing, no blood on him. Got my finger over it. Got a compress on it. Got the blood so it stopped. Got it wrapped up. Went back and took him out. I took off the headset, of course, and told him what a good boy he was. He didn't do anything wrong. I made the mistake, okay? I know better than to do that, and I did it. So, no headsets around salamander. Also, don't turn your back on him because he'll bite your rear. He'll bite his rear, or he'll bite his rear. He doesn't care. He does not deal with you showing him the tail. That's just the way it is. So find out how you're going to deal with individual situations, discuss them with each other, write them down, write your responses down so you know what you're going to do. That makes it easier when it happens. And just assume that you're going to get bit at some point. You'll make a mistake or something will happen. For example, let's say a coyote's outside your house, and you open the front door and the screen's there, and there's a coyote standing at your front door, and you're holding your bird. Okay, you've got a security door, so you're not afraid of anything, so you just open the door to let some air in, holding your bird, and all of a sudden, wham, your bird bites you. Well, coyote, predator, that's a warning. Warning you about this horrible thing at the front door. It can happen. Or if you approach, they can see out to about here. They can see all the way out to here, okay? So you're talking about vision. You can imagine having vision that goes this far, almost like you can see behind your head. There's only a small distance. So if you come up behind a bird while it's half asleep and you go to touch them on the back right here, and they didn't see you moving in that direction, they may turn around and nip just because they didn't know it was you. But know what you're going to do in every situation. If they start screaming constantly, how you're going to deal with it. Come up with a plan. We've got a lot of videos cover a lot of these issues, but come up with a plan and stick to it. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? You'll get a bird, you'll get it home, you'll give it a whole bunch of attention in the beginning, then you'll slack off. And when you slack off, the bird will start having negative behaviors because all of a sudden you're changing. You gave it a real high level of expectation. I'm going to be treated like this, and then you do less and less and less, and the bird doesn't like it. Can't blame them. That's kind of like if you get a really nice hotel room, and you're going to have a whole week there, and you come back and all of a sudden, I think the drapes have gone shabby, and the food that they left in the refrigerator now is just like canned Spam is all that's in there, and before there was neat stuff to eat. You're not going to be happy. You're going to go to the manager. Well, they don't have a manager. They don't have a manager to go to. Right, Chloe? They don't have a manager to go to, so they're going to show a change in behavior. So make sure that you've established how much time you're going to spend with a bird. If it's 2 hours, you think, well, maybe I can do 3 hours. Then just do 2. You can do 3 if you want later on, but do 2 to start. So start off with 2 hours a day. The bird's getting out, getting played with. If you know that you can definitely do 2. And then later on, if it goes up a little bit, the bird's expectations aren't going to be so high. But it's like that hotel room, right? You get fancy hotel room with the big spa tub and all that. And you go back and it's all chintzy now, and it's like a Motel 6. I'm not shooting Motel 6, but I mean, compared to a fancy restaurant, compared to a fancy hotel, that's a big drop down. So, actually what my dad said about Motel 6, he goes, now I know why they call it Motel 6. He said 6 inches of your feet hang off the end of the bed. He was a tall guy though. So, and always making jokes. And then when you're talking to the rescue, find out if there's any medicine or any special things that bird needs. You need to know what it eats now. Not what the people who relinquished it said they eat, but what the bird's eating now, what it likes to eat. If it likes to eat Harrison's pellets, don't change it. And you could in time, but you don't want to start off with that. You want to find out what the bird's eating and give it the same thing. Okay? You want to give it the same thing, okay? So what you want to make sure is that whatever the bird's been getting at the rescue, it's getting at least that minimum, okay? You want to give it that minimum. If it's been getting a shower every day, well then you better give it a shower every day, unless of course you find out it doesn't like showers, but if it's been coming out and doing some training, you want to find out what they've been training it. You want to try to mirror the good things the bird's been doing at the rescue in your home environment too. That's important. That will help the bird acclimate. And be aware, we all know, any of us who've dealt with rescue birds or any bird that's moved from one place to another, that after a couple of weeks, they unpack their luggage and behavioral, and their behaviors will start to be a little different. It'll be like, okay, I'm home now. I'm going to unpack my normal behaviors and start doing them. For Bob, that was biting whenever he didn't get what he wanted, which basically was attention. And I dealt with that, and you can see he's a wonderful bird to be around. Aren't you, Bob? Bob, what's going on with your eye? Uh-oh. Oh boy. Bob's got something going. I'm going to take him to the vet. He's got swelling above his eye here. That just happened. Unless he just bumped it on something. Well, anyway. So find out what they've been getting, what kind of treatment they've been getting there, and give that bare minimum, okay? Snowball, would you leave him alone? I know, Snowball, but you shouldn't bother him like that. I love you too, Peaches. I love you too, Peaches. It's hard to pick up there, though. We hope you will consider supporting us on Patreon today. This is how it works. We produce up to 2 videos a month. As a patron, you pledge to give us a donation, whatever you feel is right and meets your budget. Patreon gives us your gift monthly. You can easily set a limit on how much you donate a month. You can change the amount of your pledge at any time. Your gift will allow us to continue bringing you entertaining and informative videos. Patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary. We look forward to your participation in Cockatude. So to recap, the reason you don't want to buy from a breeder or from a pet store is that they're focused on making money and they're not giving the bird the best. They're not actually giving the birds the things that they need, and therefore the bird you're getting is functionally autistic, and it's probably not going to be happy. There are a few exceptions, but most of those exceptions are by dumb luck. You just happen to do what the bird needs. You just happen not to get them mated to you. So they haven't been treated well, and hand-raised isn't the best way to raise these guys. It's better if they learn from their parents so they can be birds and get handled 20 minutes a day by other people. You want to make sure that you're getting a bird for its behaviors, not for the way it looks. So if you want a bird that's cuddly, you probably don't want a scarlet macaw. If you want a bird that's big and can do tricks, that's what you want. But the behaviors of a scarlet. You want a bird that doesn't like to climb up on you so much, and a bird that will play by itself quite a bit. Then a scarlet macaw, or blue and gold macaw, or an African gray. Those are all birds that would fit that billing. You want to look at their behavior as a species, and then pick an individual that shows interest in you of that species. Okay, so you like the bird, it likes you, and that happens 3 times when you go to see it. Then you probably got a good mix. Okay, get as educated as you can about the species and how to reward train. Quit eating my buttons. And how to reward train. Find out about their medical needs and the way that they eat. Okay. They're scheduled during the day. I forgot to mention that, but they're scheduled during the day. If they're used to sleeping at a certain time and getting up, playing at a certain time, find out about that just so you know that if you're doing it at a different time, you might get different behaviors. Plan how you're going to bring them in, where you're going to place them according to their behavior, what's best for them, and plan who's going to deal with them, how they're going to deal with them. who's going to give treats. Make sure everyone knows what the acceptable rules are. You pet them on the head, not below the neck. You might even want to come up with what's going to happen to somebody if they break those rules. Because if you got somebody who breaks those rules, then you have to deal with mate territoriality, and that fault lies in the person who was petting them improperly. Okay? Make sure you have a connection to a vet. The vet gets to see them. Make sure they've had all their tests. And then if they have a new vet, the new vet has had a chance to also do an exam on them, just a basic exam, and has all the copied records from the original vet, and know exactly how you're going to handle every situation. What the methods are you're going to use to deal with biting and screaming, phobic behavior if they don't want to come out of their cages. The main thing is to become as knowledgeable about the species that you choose, that you don't just go on your gut. As Carl Sagan said, I try not to think with my gut. And for me, cockatoos are a lot of work. They require a lot of attention, but I'm okay with that. Some people would drive them crazy to have someone like Coco going, these cameras are bothering me, show me affection, and have Peaches behind their head going, I love you, trying to get your attention. And then Snowball, and I mean, I've got all these birds asking for my attention except Sugar. She does it in a different way. Sugar asks for my attention when I'm sitting over at the computer. That's when she wants the attention. So you're working along, you're just getting into a groove, and then Sugar goes, ah, like she does. Not the way it works, Sugar. She won't sit on my lap. She doesn't like laps. Maybe it's because human laps disappear. It's a part of the anatomy that's only there while you're sitting. She doesn't seem to care for that. Once you have those plans in place, and you've found the species that has the behaviors that you want, and then an individual that is showing interest in you, and you've shown it to the family, and everybody's okay with it, you make your plans, and then you can bring the bird home. Now, if you don't have the skills you need to work with a bird, you can try to pick those up in some of them in a month. You can. You can watch some of our videos on training in our training section, and read Don't Shoot the Dog, and if you get the manual of parrot behavior, that will help. You can even, if you need to, you can pay the you can pay the adoption fee at the rescue and tell them that you're going to do some research on how to work with the bird for a month, and before you bring it home, and they'll appreciate that. Most of them probably won't tell you that you're going to have to pay for the food for that month or whatever. But most rescues will work with you on that. And if they don't want to, then there's some kind of a problem, because you're saying you want to know more so you can work with the bird before you bring it home. And they're going, oh no, you got to take it now. I don't know if I trust a rescue like that. So, well, I'm getting hoarse. It's getting hot in here. And so I think that does it for today. Snowball, do you want to say goodbye to the people? No, we tried that last time. Coco, come here. Come on. Come on, Coco. You can say goodbye. Come on, Coco. Come on. All right, Peach, you want to say goodbye to the people? Come on, Peaches. Come on, Peaches. Come on. I know it's not easy for you. There you are, sweetie. There you are. Oh, hey, watch it. Peaches, want to say goodbye to the people? Say goodbye.
Hello.
Hello. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement. excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.